Posting the terms of engagement. So the recording has begun. Welcome to SASS Mass. Think chats around a witchy campfire. The terms of engagement have just been posted. We ask that you mute during the recording for clarity for those speaking and the afterplay. And of course, if you have a question, you can use the raised hand. And if you have a weigh-in, you can use the raised hand and type weigh-in. But what we're trying to do is like a handoff system. So we could try that again this week. So if you're able to, sometimes it will show you the number of who's next. Or if you just click on the people, it will show you the order. And you can just, when you're done talking, you can just hand it off to the next person. Don't worry if you can't hand it off, just I'm your moderator today and I can always do that for you. So no worries if you can't find the people or the numbers. No stress. Just don't want you to worry about it. All right. Ta-da. Welcome to SASS.
I love the ta-da as the entry thing. We're working a lot on the video content for the website. We're changing platforms. We have, as a resource center, outgrown our Squarespace platform. And so we're moving to a much better platform that can handle all of the stuff that we do. And part of that, we're using that as an opportunity to kind of revamp and kind of, I don't know, look at our video content that we have on the website. And so I've been thinking a lot about those, the intros, like storyboarding of how do you go from one thing to the next? And so I think it's funny the ta-da. That's been something that we've all been so clumsy about. It's so hard to figure out how to start something and then how to close something. And so I love that about us. Hi guys. It is a dark day in Alaska today. Like literally, it's very dark. I actually had to use another light. It's been a long time since I've had to actually use lighting when I do SASS because I've been just keeping the curtains open in my office, and it's been enough, but not today. We actually got our first big storm of the season yesterday. So, well, it's Alaska, so it's been going on for 2 days now, let's be real. So it was a 48-hour wind and rain storm. And I got to it's more that I was much more intentional about spending time with the storm yesterday. And that was a really cool experience. I'd go out frequently to just feel into it, and I could feel the temperature changes. Like there were times where it was really cold, and then there were times that it was really oddly warm. And just watching the trees and the different kinds of trees and how they move with the wind. And it was a pretty cool experience to just have the intention of experiencing and almost celebrating and welcoming the the first storm of the season up here. And I wanted to I don't know, I felt inclined to share that with you guys and to kind of check in with you and see how you guys are doing with weather type stuff, and if you're trying any practices to connect, and what kind of experiences. Anybody? I know a lot of us really love a good storm, the feeling of a storm and the electricity feeling that's in them. But have you ever done been really intentional about the seasonal turn? You know what I mean? Crickets. Really? Maybe that could be a challenge for y'all this year of what can you do to be super intentional about the environment of this, like, turn inward. Go ahead, Maria.
What it brings up for me is more like I have, I think like I've lived an intense life. And like, so I'm trying to, I realize that that no longer serves me and I kind of shifting from that. And it's a lot of like inner, work when your body is used to being anxious all the time. And I'm really like realizing that. But so with that, with like the seasonal change and with my inward turn really releasing control and like the release of control, that's a lot. Like it's a long one. It's a long journey. Like I'm working on it for a while and expect to keep working on it for a bit because it's deep. But with that said, it's like I'm trying not to like control or like force things. And so with the change, because I've so tried to constantly create a safe space for myself, now that I am in a safe space, I'm trying to more tune in and just like tune into the changes to the natural cycles so that I can figure like that part out, like what you're saying. But I feel like I've tried to control things so much. I mean, in even my environment, and now I just really feel like I'm actually like tuning into just things and leaning into them, the like the flow. And so that's really what I'm just trying to do. So I feel like I don't want to create anything right now because my process is really just to like tune in and align with what is going on in nature and like then go from there. But I'm still like really like my anxiety is ramping up, and so maybe that is, I know I definitely do have intense feelings around the change of the season. So really I'm doing just a lot of data collection. That's my main focus, is just kind of tuning in, seeing what I'm feeling, doing a lot of data collection, and then knowing that things are kind of taking an inward turn. So maybe by next year, I'll kind of have more of a ritual or ceremony for myself in place but I feel like I'm not ready almost to do that yet, or the way that I used to do it. I used to just bulldoze my way through and be like, this is the way to do things and blah, blah, blah. So, but I don't want to do that. I kind of want it to be a partnership, a collaboration. So but that's new for me. So I have it to like give it some space to kind of feel this way out. Yay. All right, who is next here? It would be Wit. You're next.
Hello. I'm fighting a cold, so my voice may go in and out. Um, but I'm finding myself more aware this year of the change of the season, and really looking forward to it. I used to dread when fall would come because that would mean when winter would come, but now I'm like actually really looking forward. And part of it is because I can't wait to take Dandy out and have him not like die after 5 seconds of being out in the heat. Um, and that may also be why I'm a little bit more aware of it as well too. But I've been being able to be outside with him like every morning almost, taking him out, seeing the change in the weather, feeling it. Um, and yeah, I'm kind of the same thing to her, just like kind of feeling into it and trying to, yeah, just lean in with it and be right now. Um, but yeah, I'm actually like, I don't know, it feels different this year, which I'm excited about. So it's a coming, but in a good way. All right, Ben, I believe you are next.
All right, all right. So this time of year actually corresponds with my birthday. My birthday is tomorrow. So I it's almost like instead of the ease in, like the walk down into the shallow end of the pool, I like take a running jump into the deep end of self-reflection because I start with, wow, my year is coming to a conclusion and I'm starting a brand new year. What are the things that worked for me, didn't work for me? And all of that's happening as my body is starting the inward turn. So it's like, yeah, we're turning in. Like we're turning in and I will be turned in for the rest of the winter. Um, so I've definitely felt that. Last week specifically, I was cooking and I was like, is it tea season? Which means that the turn is starting, right? Is it tea season? Is it soup season? Should I start preparing for that? And then New England was like, ha ha ha, it's still summer and gave us like a 90-degree weather yesterday. Um, and we have the air conditioner on right now, like so those two things don't usually go together. So my body, in other words, is having a weird conflicting time with this inward turn this year. Because although I really want to do like everything about me is like, yeah, we're turning in, we're gonna start reflecting. Um, the weather isn't. And usually they go like walk hand in hand together. It starts to get cold around my birthday because it's the end of August. At least growing up, that was the case. Climate change is a bitch, you know what I mean? Um, so uh, yeah, I'll probably be in conflict until like October when it actually starts to get cold, and then everything will click, and I'll be like, soup and tea season, we're reflecting, everybody leave me alone. But yeah, that's it. Stephanie, I think you're next.
There, am I off on mute? Happy birthday, Ben. I hope you have a magical birthday. I have yet to tune into SASS Mass and not have you bring up exactly what my day has been like. Like, yeah, it has never happened that I haven't somewhere along in SASS Mass that you start talking about exactly what I'm experiencing. My card pull this morning, coming of winter. um am that person who is like, it's still August, but I'm like, it's fall. I made soup yesterday. I've got my tea. It's in the 70s outside, so it's cooling down, but I mean, it's still full summer here, but I just jump, like Ben said, right into the deep end of fall. But when I was doing my morning meditations and reading card pulls this morning, um, I felt like it was time to get my space ready, and my physical space in my home. And I have been completely unmotivated for months with my home. Um, I'm lucky enough to have a room that is mine. I went and got a desk that was my great grandmother's flip top desk that I'm sitting at now, that my mom's been waiting for me to get. And I'm just getting this space, my space, organized, where I have all my reading stuff, so that it's clean and comfortable when it is time to fully come inside and, do that turning inward, that I have the space to do it while I still have, the windows are open and I can throw things around. And it's just, I woke up this morning and that was what my day was meant to be, this, like, preparing. So thanks for bringing it up. It's just, again, always perfect timing.
Yeah, oh, of course, as soon as I took the mic off of mute, like my brain went bloop, nothing at all. I have been like, I touched a little bit last week about how I'm kind of like feeling into creating some sort of annual ritual for honoring my home for Gertrude, right? For uh, w- what they do to protect my family and to uh, provide positive containment for the like life that we are building in this like home. And it's been interesting as I've been doing that when you start to distinguish between like what is mine and what is like a reading that I'm getting picking up from somewhere else. Gertrude's been very chatty about the bits of shadow work that I still need to kind of work through, with regards to my relationship with living in a big, huge house. I've been a minimalist and like nomadic most of my life. And then here I'm in this like great big house and that takes a lot longer to take care of. And it's a lot more maintenance and all of these like added responsibilities and things. And as we're getting ready for autumn, my awareness is coming to any little bits of resentment that I might have about. I know it sounds like dumb. I'm living in my dream home, and yet there is resentment for the added like responsibilities and all of that. That's deep inside, right? And so I've been working through those bits and learning to just like to really accept and lean into it. And the more I'm reaching out to engage with Gertrude, the more they respond and have this full on sassy conversation about what kind of work I still need to do in order for that ritual that I do with them to be the most authentic and sincere. And I think that that is uh, very cool. But I wanted to kind of like tack into it. It's like there's so much. Um, One of the things that I've been kind of playing with ever since I talked to my crystal friend, right? My mineral dealer friend, and she made that comment about her stones, how her personal collection, she organizes them by color because they harmonize better that way. It feels better when they're separated by color, right? And so I've been really paying attention to how things in my environment like um, resonate, like the vibe of them. And when it's funny that all of this is happening all at the same time. It's not funny, it's how fucking life works. But uh on this side quest that is totally, I swear to God, it's relatable. Uh my partner has it in his mind that he wants a family band, right? He's got a bunch of instruments. He's collecting instruments like you wouldn't believe, right? My daughter's a vocalist and a percussionist, and my son kind of played guitar a little bit for a little while, and Steve is playing guitar, and I'm a vocalist as well, but I have a lot of shadow work regarding my singing because of a bunch of trauma and blah 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 blah. I gave it up for 10 years, getting back into it. Anyway, it's a big deal that I'm getting back into singing again. When I sing, it feels like prayer. It feels like I am connected to all that ever was when I'm singing, right? And I'm repairing that relationship with my voice. Anyway, so next thing you know, right, Thursday have a house full of people. One of those people is, it is literally their profession to lead choirs. They they're a vocal coach. They are my vocal coach. They lead, like, they organize bands and do all of that kind of stuff, right? They're over at our house and we're all like messing around. My partner bought a fucking drum kit, guys. I have a drum kit in my living room. What would be my living room anyway? So they're over helping him set that up and everything. Next thing you know, there's a whole jam band going on, right? And she's like orchestrating all of us. And within a few minutes, next thing you know, I'm up in in my bathroom with my daughter and her, and we're working on 4-part harmonies to like I think it was Let It Be and like Hey Jude, I think is what we were working on. But when you are working on harmonies and working on music with a group of people, right? There's this like listening that happens that's like deep within. And when I was up working on harmonies with my child for the first time, right? I'd never sung with my daughter like this before. And like the sound that we made together, it was just like, it was so magical. And that right there, that energy of harmonizing and listening very deeply and responding to others is exactly the energy that I was taking in the storm, right? That trying to harmonize with the storm, listening deeply, listening sincerely, and with the intention of collaboration, right? And that is again the same energy that I'm taking with Gertrude. How do I harmonize? How does my magic work together and collaborate so that this system that I'm a part of functions in harmony, right? There's this like beautiful thing. And so that's also happening in my life, but I thought that like realization of the connection between harmonizing as a vocalist and learning to sing with others and working together is so similar to magic and that cooperation and collaboration that we do with like the storms and just experiencing it for the love of experiencing it. Um, and just like that, I don't that's it. That's it. Ta-da! Isa, go ahead.
Hey everyone, and happy birthday, Ben. Um, Last week I live in Southern California. So week today, it's when we had that Hillary storm. Um, I took advantage of that rain and I went out for a walk around my neighborhood. By the time I came back, I was soaked. So I thought, what the heck? And I took off my shoes and I walked around my front lawn connecting with nature. And then I started weeping because I'm doing a lot of healing. Rain helps me do that. And every time there's rain, which isn't a lot for Southern California, I take advantage and I go out. Um, at some point, one of my neighbors was coming out and they looked at me. If they already, if my neighbors already think I'm weird, that day that I was walking around my front lawn, completely soaked, barefoot. They must have thought I was really crazy, but I didn't care. I never have. Um, it helped me to heal. My healing process an ongoing thing, but just with Jean Marie, you saying that it was a little dark in in Alaska, I thought that is so fitting for how I feel. Sometimes that darkness helps you to, I don't know, to help you to meditate, to think about the changes. Um, and so I thank you for bringing it up because it was precisely what's been hitting my soul and my spirit this week. And that's all I wanted to share.
Thank you. Ben, did you still have did you want to weigh in still? No, you put it in the chat.
I did put it in the chat, but then by the time Jean Marie had stopped talking, it felt like just silly to even say. So it's not important at all.
All right. Well, you know where to find us. Jen Marie.
I with this like I love this conversation of this like preparation for the upcoming season. Like even though most of us are still like I look out my window, everything's mostly green, right? The light is very different up here, but everything's mostly green. There was the first storm of the season, right? But it wasn't that intense as far as Alaska goes, right? So it's interesting that these that we do get these little like tendrils, um little wisps of remembering of, hey, remember what it was like last year? Remember what the inward turn actually is? Remember what you needed to prepare for in order for this experience to be expansive, right? We think about we can approach approaching an Alaskan winter is very much like how I approach my spiritual inward turn, right? Because that inward turn is so vital to our cycles as human beings. And the more we can do the inward turn on purpose and with like intention and actually setting ourselves up. So that could look like, oh, I went and got myself some pretty handkerchiefs to use during emotional moments during the winter time because I want to treat my tears as if they are sacred, right? So that could be something that you could do to prepare yourself for the inward turn. Or I'm going to read this book during the dark times, and this is a book about like emotional processing or trauma or grief processing. Those kinds of things are really great for this inward turn because we're there already. Like we go to those dark places anyway. So when instead of being in resistance to going to those dark places, we then do it on purpose, right? Another a friend of mine they brew mead specifically for use during the dark times when they are in those emotional. They have this like special little drink that they drink, and it makes it this beautiful moment instead of this like moment of resistance. And you know, when we prepare for things, there's a difference between like planning and trying to like and being like super prepper, right? Of like, I need to have like everything. There's obsession, right? Of going like woo. And then there is like a healthy level of preparation of paying attention to like what your own needs are emotionally and setting yourself up with like a kit for those moments, a special box or basket, a picnic basket that has, oh, this is when I'm going through a particularly deep and dark thing. I have this basket full of all of these things that I absolutely love that will comfort me through there. And I really got to thinking about that because we are preparing for winter in Alaska here. And that means things like cleaning the garage and organizing it because should something happen in the wintertime, I need to have access to tools to fix things around the house should something happen. Having a window repair kit that in case we have a blizzard this year and something goes through the window, I can patch it really quickly and I don't have to go and look because we're talking about minutes until like the temperatures drop too low in the house kind of a thing. So just like we prepare for the winter storms physically, preparing for the internal storms is something that I don't think that I have done with as much intention as I intend to do this year, right? I'm also working on upping my veiling game too, that I'm excited about. I want to so I cover the top of my head during winter as a reminder that of this inward turn for myself. It's also because it's Alaska and I need to keep my head like I need to keep my actual body heat in. And so we wear hats and stuff anyway, but uh I want to be more intentional about what I use to cover my head. Whereas before it was just as long as there's a beanie, a hood, or something like that on, we're good. But I've been courting some of my friends that make beanies and things like that to like, I want to wear witch made beanies and hoods and things like that that are created with that intention instead of just buying one from a store, and then like starting the intention there. Uh, do any of you have any sort of winter practice, or have you guys thought about like a kit? Have you put much thought of how to support yourself over the winter with the emotional like inward turn? It's so funny because it's like this kind of stuff where it's like, man, now I want to make a bunch of kerchiefs for the shop because I think that would be a lot of fun. And I think it would be really great. I have a special kerchief that I use with grief and that kind of stuff too. And I get too many ideas of fun stuff in the shop. Anyway, go ahead, Maria.
I was thinking like at least up here in the northeast part of the state where we have like the seasons, um, part of our environment kind of does this where, we are all about like sweater weather and get your tea and like soups become a big thing. Like eating a lot of that like warm, the food, like everything shifts. Um, One thing with like food, I've been kind of more mindful, starting to like try to eat really seasonally, like to be mindful. And so, but like, so the food, like in the wintertime, I don't know, it is very more like nourishing, very warm, and it kind of like suits the vibe, of the inward turn. Um, yeah, but besides, I mentioned last week the one intentional ritual with my home that I have that I do love is the opening of the fireplace. Um, and that's a really like cool one. And I get the sacred fire starter from the shop. And I use that in my ritual. My boyfriend like gets into it too. So it's like that's a big day when we have our first fire and open that up. And yeah, he like loved the sacred fire starter for different reasons that I loved. He was like, this works great. I'm like, yes, it does. But he participated in it with me, so that was cool. So that's the one specific winter thing that I know that I'll definitely be doing. Let's see, anyone else want to weigh in? Stephanie said I call them cry towels. Nice. I love a cry towel. I'd love to be like someone be like, oh, can I use your handkerchief? I'd be like, no, it's a cry towel, but yes, you can use it. Don't blow your nose on it, but you're welcome to wipe your tears because that's way more sanitary anyways. Demery.
I think Ezra is next. Go ahead, Ezra.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, so um yeah, I actually felt like I needed to come outside to to talk because I was standing next to the window. Um but like it beckoned to me. So like recently we've been going through a heat wave. I'm in Florida, and so I haven't been going outside very much. It's not too bad today, but I'm very like light sensitive and heat sensitive. And so I pretty much will go outside for a minute and then I'll just be like, okay, I think that's enough connecting with nature. It's time to go connect with my house again and connect with my air conditioning. um, and uh, I'm really looking forward to the cold coming back. A I'm like on the opposite shift of I love the inward turn. I love when it gets cold. Um, Part of that is, because I'm in Florida and when it's like unbearable. Um, and but it also does get very cold here because it gets like wet cold. Um, and it's very hard to warm up with wet cold. Like when I lived in Seattle, it was like it could be 0 degrees and it would not be as cold as uh, 25 degrees here. Or at least it just felt different. Um, what I usually like. I'm really looking forward to like hot chocolate. Um, I'm looking forward to being able to spend more time like just like snuggled in blankets. Like that's one of my favorite things. Like I have to sleep with a sheet right now because it's just so hot you can't even blanket up. And that's like one of my favorite things. Um, and I feel like with like the inward turn, it's definitely more of a connect with your house time. Um, and I noticed that with my family system, like um, we all enjoy the cozy winter things more. Like even we all have like different um, food needs, and so usually, especially during the summertime, when oh wow okay, I just saw a yellow butterfly. It's like a sink for me, so that's good. The we what was I saying? Oh yeah, food. Like we all end up needing different food. Like my grandma had like her gallbladder out, so she can't eat like high fat foods. And then, everybody has different safe foods, so we end up like having like a very eclectic meals. Um, and I think something about winter like simplifies it when you can just like make a stew and like everyone kind of enjoys that exact same thing and just eats out of the same pot. And um, there's something very homey about that. Um, and yeah, like I really enjoy the the sleeping in, the like not wanting to get out of bed because it's too cuddly and it's cold out. Like even when it's too cold, like that, there's still something a little bit enjoyable about that. Um, and you mentioned head covering. That's another thing I've been thinking about a lot lately because I am like I've always I've loved beanies. Like I've gone through beanie phases, and um, like everyone in my family like wears some kind of head covering. Like my grandma wears a shadel, which is just Yiddish for wig, and my mom has actually gotten into these little like beret hats recently, which is really cute. And my brother, he has a hoodie that he'll just drape over his head and not wear the rest of the way. And so like there are just pictures where we're all wearing like our chosen veil, and I always really like that. And um, it's cute how we all just like personalize it in our own way. Oh, and my partner wears like baseball caps everywhere. um, and that's her thing. And so yeah, I think I'm I have like it was funny that you mentioned the like warm headwear because it is hard for me to wear headwear in the heat. I also have very thick hair, and so it just like traps all the heat in, and so when it's really hot outside, I can't do that. Um, and so I'm looking forward to beanie season again, and I will, I think that has made me want to get like a special beanie or two that is specifically magic for that. Also, off topic, but today is my 1 year anniversary for being in Bright and Dark, so I'm happy about that. So thanks for letting me talk.
Happy anniversary. That's a big deal. And I know that right now, uh, we haven't created a system to make it as big a deal as we want it to be. And there are plans in the works because of those that vocalized how much they want some kind of like a graduation acknowledgement or something like that beyond what we do at the convergence. Like we listened, and I'm working on it, and I'm very excited about it. I know I say that all the time. Every time we are working on something, I always say that I'm very excited about it, but it's very aligned. So thank you for everyone that nudged us about doing something special. I'm so proud of you, Ezra. There's a lot of work to do this and a lot of dedication. Um, it's not a simple thing. I forgot what I was going to say, and I did not write it down like I've been trying to do. So that's fun. Um, oh, I was kind of riffing off a little bit of what Ezra was talking about with the with head coverings. Head coverings in general for me, uh, because of my sensory processing disorder, my extreme sensitivities, having a hood on when I am in public or some kind of head covering when I am around a lot of people or a lot of or in uh, an environment that is energetically unfamiliar for me, I'll wear like a head or a hood or anything like that. It makes me giggle because of the whole I joke around about how I belong in a monastery. Like that is my ideal living situation is in a monastery with nothing but a cot and the blankets that I need and the as minimalistic as possible. That's kind of the vibe I go for. And I love that monks get to wear the big comfy robes with the awesome hoods all the time and nobody's like, "Oh, they're weird with the hood on." Anyway, go ahead, Corey. Maria, did you change your mind?
My screen went black. Yes, I'm good. Corey can go. Corey.
You are muted, Corey. You're muted.
Can you hear me now? Okay. So Maria was talking about being in the Northeast and about sweater season and scarf season. And yes, I'm in the Northeast too. And when it gets dark here, it is like the sky is pressing down on my head. It starts early. I call it seasonal depression, but it feels like it is physically pressing down on me. So what I do is I am a scarf wearer because like you, Jean-Marie, I like to have something over my head. And when I wear it, it just looks like part of my outfit. And then when I'm at home, I often am pulling it up over my head. Or if I'm going outside, I pull it up over my head. And because I have obsessive compulsive ADHD, you would not believe the number of these are just the ones that I could grab now. I probably have 100 different scarves, but especially for people in the Northeast, it can be a really simple way. I mean, I call it my armor when I put it on because I feel protected when I have it just wrapped around me. And when I feel like you had said, I could also be in a monastery. Also, when I'm at home with my scarves, I often have it pulled up over my head. And it just, like you talk about how putting intention into things, especially into your magic, can make a huge difference. And when I'm doing that, I feel like it's also part of the intention of what I'm putting into just my general magical practice. And it just helps those long, dark days be a little bit better. And as someone who isn't really an out witch amongst the rest of my community, often it is a way that I can practice that without seeming like I am doing something that they're saying, "Oh, I wonder what that was all about there." So just wanted to share that as for my practice, wearing a scarf that you can just kind of blend in, but still feel like that is helping you in your practice and with the general, those shorter, darker days. So that was it.
I love that. I love that. Oh no, did I forget again? Oh, it was so good. I wanted to kind of touch a little bit on what you were talking about when when winter starts to set in and you feel that like weight that you were talking about, like the sky seems to be closer, it's darker, and it feels like kind of a weight kind of descending upon you. Um, I first of all, I wanted to validate that feeling because I can absolutely relate to that, especially like in Alaska when it's like literally dark all of the time. And things are so different here. And what I started to do with that feeling of the weight that kind of like sits on you when during the dark times, I started thinking about it more like a weighted blanket, right? So instead of it being something that was oppressive, this like thing that must be endured, I started seeing it as like compression therapy for my spirit. Um, and that really changed started that reframing kind of changed my relationship with that very real feeling of weight during the dark times. um because I love a good weighted blanket. I love a good weighted blanket. And so um it really adjusted that relationship in a way that made more sense because like the earth is not trying to like oppress me, and or the seasons aren't trying to oppress me or any of that. And so it took a long time for me to realize, oh yeah, I'm not being held down, I'm being held, right? But thank you, Corey, for bringing that up. That's how many who else feels that change and shift into the dark times as a weight that you're like physically feeling kind of a weight in the wintertime. That was very much something that you can like show by show of hearts in your reacts button. Um, this is another one of those things where we each sense or experience um, life differently. We're plugged in differently, and there are some of us that would feel that in that way. So again, thanks, Corey, for sharing that. I know somebody has something burning that they want to talk about. Anyone? We can all just sit and share in each other's presence as well.
And you
I
can
love that coming
change the
afterwards.
topic. Yeah, you
Yeah,
can change. We can change
totally.
the topic. Yeah, don't have to. Yeah.
Ooh, I have a minute. Just a minute. I love this topic though. Like the echo. I hope it's not too bad. I'm in the cafeteria at work. But yeah, I love the topic. I love wearing hats. That's really my thing. I have like 6 or 7 different knit hats from like Pokemon to rainbow unicorns to all different kinds of things, and I love wearing them not only outside but inside the house. And on particular days where I'm feeling a little rough and scraggly, I just wear them wherever, like in the bowling alley. I don't care. Like you can stare at me. You love my hat. Thanks. I love it too. It makes me easy to deal with it. Otherwise, I'd be losing my mind over here. So, it's like it's not up to me to be their comfort. They can just deal with whatever they want to deal with over there. Not my problem. But yeah, so I just love wearing my hats, and they're really nice. And I actually love a weighted blanket. But they're the best. And I'm trying to lean into the weather this year. I think it's fabulous. I'm enjoying the clouds and the rain and the rainbows and all the fun things that come with the weather, and trying to embrace each moment that they go through and be here in the moment with the weather. But yeah.
Go ahead, Ezra.
This has made me think a lot about and something I've been thinking about, like in relation to climate change and the changing of the seasons, and what that analogy with, feeling held down. And if you can, like, I believe anyway that like the universe is like communicating love at all times, and so there's nothing, like I would consider that there is nothing uh malicious or cruel or even like careless really about the way that what the weather's making us feel. um and so I think about that like in terms of, like I said, climate change or like any natural uh big thing that seems to take something from us. And I'm thinking specifically about, like, I went to the beach a couple of weeks ago for the first time in a while. And it was a big family thing. And uh, my partner got boogie boards, and it was the very first time I got on the boogie board. This wave just like crashed over me and swept my glasses away. Like it just like I reached out for them and I could like feel them like bump my fingers as I tried to grab them, and it was just gone. And these were glasses that I thought like were pretty firmly on my head. I thought I could keep my head above water. And so I was kind of, taken off balance by that. And I have a very bad vision, or I feel like I try to stay away from judgment words, but like it's hard when you feel like you're actually missing something. But I've also related my the way things are blurry when I don't have my glasses on. Like it feels magical, like the way like you like everything seems separate when you can see the hard lines of everything, and when it's blurry you can see a little bit more clearly that it is actually one thing. And so I tried to like breathe into that and like let myself feel disappointed and stuff, and try to think about, I guess, what is being communicated in that moment. And it made me feel like that. um well, in that case I was like, okay, so the ocean like wants me to see things magically clearly, and it's being a little aggressive about it because sometimes the ocean's like that. And it made me really think about the people that feel the weight, because I feel the sun as weight. And so that's like when I go out there, I'm just like, wow, you are on my back right now. That's a little close. But for those that feel the night and like the longer night times as a weight, kind of seeing that maybe as like a hug that is trying to get you through the darker times. And like for me, vice versa, like the sun's like trying to like maybe push me back inside and let me know it's okay. Because I really feel like I'm on like a flipped schedule, where I just like I spend the hot months, and the sunny months inside, like even more so. And it feels like I'm being fed to do that by my environment, and that's a very purposeful thing. Um, and like whenever I get some climate change anxiety, I try to think about that too, in terms of like, this is something that, at least that I believe is happening. Um, Ultimately, like the end goal will be love. Like it's something that we're gonna have to learn. And earlier, I was actually had this kind of um, had this thought open up when we were talking about like resistance to things, and um, I had like I've been learning to play the guitar, and I've always had an interest in humor and stuff like that. And something that I was feeling called to say was like that resistance isn't bad. Like tension makes the sound happen in music. Like that literally they call it a scale because it's weight. It's one of the videos with I'm like even like to a special interest bill of learning guitar. I started watching lots of videos on like music theory and stuff, but like that's why we call it a scale is because each of them weigh differently. And so each time of the year, if we're each feeling a different weight coming from the environment, then there's something there with like, you know, ultimately like the music of our life type of thing. So
I think I'm mixed. Ezra, when you were talking, it made me kind of think about some of the like mundane things too, of that I probably don't take into account with the season changes, like what my body needs nutritionally, like with the seasons. And so, like, I'm thinking some of the times when I'm feeling a certain way, of course, it's like, it's that balance of like the magical and the mundane, because there's like very real energetic things that are going on, but then there's also like, have I, kind of taken care of my body with like maybe the vitamins that I needed because I'm not going to be outside anymore. And like, I was just thinking, like, is some of my resistant because I'm like, because of maybe I'm like vitamin deficient, you know what I mean? And of course, I'm not giving medical advice, like work with your doctor, of course, but it was just kind of making me think, like, have I really taken the time to like kind of prepare my body, or prepare, what my body might need? And like, probably not. Like, I probably haven't done that. So that's giving me something to think about. Jen Marie?
Thanks, Maria, because now I'm like, oh yeah, I need to start taking vitamin D again because we have no sun up here. So thanks for that. But I also wanted to, because you brought up that you're trying to eat more seasonal food, right? When I was super, super into like urban agriculture and learning about all of that kind of stuff way back when, and learning about how like the vitamins and minerals and things like that in like winter squash is what you need during the winter. And it's a food that stores over winter, and it's so, to me, so very tidy. It's very tidy that the food that we need and the vitamins that we need during the winter are present in the foods that are available to us through the winter and are able to be stored. So I just think that's fascinating. But I also wanted to thank you, Ezra, so much for that vision reframing. For those of you that don't know, I was a neurodevelopmental optician for like over a decade. That was the thing that I got into right out of when after I graduated school, was in optics and helping people see again. I worked with um, because I was super low vision as a child, legally blind. And so I've had this like relationship with vision my whole life. And I hated wearing glasses because my autistic brain doesn't tune out the frame ever. Like I'm always aware of it and always conscious of it. Whereas most the like neurotypical, it would just like you'd eventually get used to it. My brain does not do that. And so it drove me crazy because I felt claustrophobic all the time. And so I had vision surgery in my early 20s that corrected, and I didn't have to wear glasses. And now, entering cronehood, I have to wear glasses again. And I've been working on repairing my relationship with my vision and things like that. And my vision, I found there's some other stuff going on, and my vision, I have bad vision days where I can't focus my eyes very well. And so I've been working through the shadow work of that childhood fear of going completely blind, and the like resistance to wearing glasses and all of that. And I hated the way that I looked in glasses for a long time too. So I was doing the shadow work on that. But Ezra, that little last little chunk of the puzzle to help me in reframing the like low vision days that I have. Um, Total game changer. Thank you for that. That was perfect. Exactly what I needed. Um, so big, massive thank you, Ezra. That was a big game changer for me. And then bringing up the climate change anxiety, right? How many of us are experiencing climate change anxiety right now? Um, it right, yeah, no, I love that this came up also because there's this um as witches, we've got one foot on the other side, and we're very much aware that there is this like shift and thing that's happening, and then there's this physical thing that's going on in the physical world that we're very aware of, and we all often take responsibility for it. uh in that, like, we've got to do something about it, and then we feel powerless in doing something about it because it feels so big and overwhelming, and that there isn't anything that we can do about it. um so there is that reminder of like the anxiety itself. Sitting in a cycle of anxiety isn't helpful, right? Sitting in a cycle of feeling powerless over what is happening in the world around us, like, isn't doing us like any good. um Knowing that the work that you're doing in repairing your relationship with your physical body is the beginning of working on repairing your relationship with your environment as well. And that will come. You guys are a lot of you guys are on that path of being able to like be more active in your environment. But when you do feel anxiety about um, climate change, uh, you can take that as an opportunity to ask your system, in what ways can I make a change? In what ways do I have power to adjust, to participate in improving my own relationship with the environment, right? And that can look different depending on like where you are, what you're physically capable of doing, what like whatever. But if you're feeling anxiety and you just shove it away and ignore it and are like, there's nothing I can do about it, this is a useless feeling. It's not a useless feeling. Um, Actually choosing to respond, even if it's just like, what can I do? In what ways can I make adjustments? What is my system bringing to my attention? Uh, like, right, because there's little things that all of us can do. Um, whether it's education, whether it's actively participating in your community, whether it's like a cleanup thing or an awareness thing, there is something that we can do. Um, and that nagging that you might have at the back of your mind to participate in some way, answering that call is is an important part of showing your system, both internally and externally, that you are sincere about your journey in reparations, right? Does that make sense? And there's so many things, and like we can go to the websites and find the little things that we can do, but uh, listening to our systems when we're feeling anxiety, that tension is oftentimes the move to action. That's, you know, your cortisol raising and you needing to like take action on something. And following through is an important thing. And I think that it's interesting that you know, sorry, I'm so side questing, guys. This is like a deep side quest. Do you want to go with me? Um, I also did fashion design for a very long time. Hello, ADHD. I know, guys. I worked in medicine and did fashion design and interior design and landscape design, and I just like I had to do all of the things all of the time. But my big thing as a fashion designer is how much waste is in fashion, and it's massive. The fashion industry is a massive contributor to environmental problems that we're having. Things that we aren't even told. We think that we're doing good by donating to places like Goodwill or, you know, all these secondhand stores or whatever. But the majority of that stuff goes into landfills when all is said and done. I try not to buy new like anything because of that and the problem with like fast fashion. And it's not just environmental, but it's uh, human rights issues as well that go into this. And so, since I moved to Alaska, I kind of fell off of that. I because of a lot of different reasons. Accessibility to I used to go and buy clothing by the pound at these like big places that donate things, and then I would make fashion out of those things and then sell it. That was my like my is it niche? That's my design style is this like using post-consumer recycled materials to make like festival clothing and artistic clothing and that kind of thing. And I stopped doing that when I moved to Alaska because fashion became more, what is the word I'm looking for? Uh, it wasn't as much about self-expression as it was about self-preservation, right? So I went from like not wearing jeans for over a decade to having to wear denim in order to keep my legs from getting like frostbitten or like bitten by other things, you know? Um, And so I've been getting this like poke and nudge, yeah, functional, poke and nudge to get back into making my own clothes because I haven't in a very long time. And I haven't been creative. I got like really burnt out for lots of reasons. And I started doing that again over this last month is playing with making my own clothing and being more intentional about making my own clothing because even though I'm using post-consumer recycled materials, we all know about like you cleansing those kinds of things. But by being more intentional about the clothing that I wear and it being clothing that I make, I'm able to imbue it, to spell it or charm it to be um, a companion collaborator instead of just like an item that I'm wearing. I've actually cultivated a relationship with the things that I drape upon my body, right? Um, and so yeah, that felt kind of like ranty, and I don't know if I like really got to a point about it at all. But I've been thinking a lot about fashion again and about intentional clothing and this like, you know, intentional turn inward and making beanies and hoods and things instead of buying the beanies and hoods and things and making my clothing, and being more like witchy about it. Uh, witchy, being more intentional about it, right? And I'm excited about that. The other thing is I realized too, in this whole like journey with fashion again, back into fashion and self-expression with fashion and all of that, is that like in TikTok world and everything, most people like only see me from here up and have no idea. Like I have never even shared really my personal style at all. And that was such a huge part of like who I was in the witchcraft world back in like in Oregon in the Pacific Northwest. I was the witch you go to. I was a fairy godmother, which you go to for your special clothes, you know, and for your special stuff. And I am reacquainting myself with that like creative fairy godmother side, and I'm really happy about that. And actually, I'm starting to make stuff. I'm dipping my toes into making some simple things to have in the shop, for that intentional veiling and that kind of stuff, because I do want to share that art with you guys. I haven't had an opportunity to share that yet. And that's going to be a fun winter thing for me to be doing. I'm done. Okay. Or ta-da! Yeah, what Ezra just said in the chat with the hobbies that we can do indoors in the coming cold times is important. That is a lot of what, see, that's Alaskan culture too, is that everybody is snowed in all winter. So we do crafty shit all the time. And like we don't, there isn't really a social life very much in the winter because it's so difficult to get anywhere. And those that can make it to, like, there's bars here and there. You can go to like a bar and hang out, but like who wants to do that? Um, but yeah, we all make crafty shit. And then during the summertime, the festival, the like what's the word? The bazaar craft markets, like that's huge up in Alaska. There's huge craft market scene because we don't have access to like stores and things. So most of the stuff we have access to is like handcrafted, and they do it through markets and festivals, and we all make them in the wintertime. So yeah. Do it, Karen. Just kidding.
What up, witches? Oh, give me a minute here. Let me see what I'm feeling into. I am in the merge and purge phase. Oh, real quick, Ezra, your voice is beautiful. The Stranger, when I was a kid, was one of the first albums that was played around my house on the regular. And yes, Vienna is waiting for me. Oh, anyways, want to add that
Thank
if
you.
you have
Love
no
that
idea,
song.
me too. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, go find Ezra on TikTok and listen. It's beautiful. So yeah, I'm merging and purging and getting rid of stuff that no longer serves me. Things are still drawing to an end here. It's kind of like, I mean, the dad's still on hospice and still passing, but this is going to be, longer than the Judd farewell tour. So we're going to be hunkering down, but I know I'm going to be getting out of here at some point soon. And there's so much stuff that either doesn't physically fit me or doesn't fit me emotionally, any other way. It's no longer stuff that I'm aligned with. So I was thinking donation until a few moments ago, Jen, but so yeah. Um hmm. I'm kind of at a space where I don't know how much I want to share just yet because I don't know how it's going to play out. So it's not October yet, but I am going to remind you to check yourself frequently. Your tits, they're yours. Play with them often. 1 in 8 of us. I mean, that's just the rate of women's statistics, but it doesn't matter. So and I know it's going to be fucking fine. It is. I will always be fine. I am the phoenix. I gotta have a biopsy. I've had them before, and I had the last time it came back positive, it was the other side. The left side I call Franken-titty. Fuck cancer. So I went in and got my mammogram. Do that too when they tell you you're supposed to. And yeah, it's a numbers game. 1 in 8, man. And so yeah, they found something that they told me, they warned me they are being hypersensitive, hyper vigilant about the likelihood that it's anything, probably not even likely. Don't even worry about it, just being hyper. So, well, I'm, I'm cool with it. I was really cool with it until a few minutes ago, and now I'm apparently bawling about it when I get here with y'all. Jeez. Um, Apparently I needed this. So yeah, because I know it's going to be okay, but it's all shit that we have to we all battle something sooner or later, whether it's cancer, if it's mental health, whether it's financial issues, everybody battles something sometime or another. They're just being hyper aware, but there was, there was a big 9-month period of my life that sucked ass is an understatement. So literally, I was felt up more in that 9-month period, more than my entire high school and college years put together. That was the best part of it. So, either way, I know it's going to be okay. I don't want to face that again, but if I have to, I will. I'm grateful because now I have you guys on my corner, and I didn't have a whole slew of fucking witches behind me to send the emotional energy that, either way, just holding space for me, to make sure that they're doing their job right when they're doing all the testing and all that. That's all I ask. I'll hold that space. And I have some you can check because I don't want none of y'all have to go through this either. So anyway, much love, you guys. Thank you for letting me vent and ramble. Get it, Petra?
Hello. Sorry. My dog was like barking at me to go find my husband's around. I was like, can you do that? I'm in the middle of a thing. And then I'm on the tablet because my phone decided it was like I don't want to charge above 10% today. And I was like, I don't. Mercury Gatorade, what the heck? Technology. I just wanted to say thank you, Karen, for like sharing that and being brave. I think that shit is really, it's really challenging to share, and I think it makes sense to me why like sharing it with this group where you know that like we care about you and we love you and we want to hold this with you, like the emotions come up, right? Like when we feel like sometimes it's hard when we're holding it all on our own. We kind of just like hold it really tight and like we don't even know. And then when there's more space because there's more people to share it with, it just kind of does what it does. So I just wanted to offer that. And also just like offer validation for like it's scary shit. Like as someone who's like sat with people and walked through these things with people, like your fear is valid and it is. That doesn't mean that it's not going to turn out just fine. It just means that like you're having an appropriate response to a stimulus that would provoke fear, like in anybody. And I think that when things come back, you know, or like we've had health things before and then something happens that like is reminiscent or is very similar or whatever, it just um, sometimes there's lots of old emotions too that like weren't safe to process there, and maybe there's more space to process them now. So I just wanted to offer that as well. Like this time, I don't want to say will probably, but like could possibly, that feels better, be different just because you're different and like your support circle is different and your life is different, and you're also dealing with the stuff with your dad, and there's lots of that plate is sounding mighty full, friend. Like it's just like you're like it's like that TikTok sound, like that's enough slices. It's like we're good. Like, and so I just wanted to say thanks for sharing that with us and just give you some compassion and validate like how you're feeling. And however you move through this, however whatever comes up, like we're around and we love you and like um yeah. And I think it's you're someone who like really I see you like use humor a lot to like help yourself like cope, and I want to both like validate that that's so important because I think sometimes people get like I do that too, and people will be like that's not really funny, that's a little dark, and I'm like, can you just roll with me on this? Like can we just go with the flow? Like I'm laughing, can you please be laughing with me? Like and so and I also wanted to say that like however, under that or over that, I don't know. With that, however you process is valid, and whatever you need to do to like make sense of things and to feel grounded in this, like you can you can trust yourself. You've like cultivated that. So I just wanted to offer that. And I love you. Okay, bye.
Thank you. I love you too. It brings up an interesting point, though. One of my mom's favorite songs, it was one that Michael Jackson really liked a lot, but I think it actually was older than that, from like a Charlie Chaplin song. Laugh and the world laughs with you, cry and you cry alone. And yeah, laughing sure beats crying. And yeah, I got a really dark sense of humor. I'm I am like, don't talk to me at funerals, man. I can't help myself. We will be asked to step outside. It's happened before. I don't mean to do it, but I'm nervous and everybody else is emotionally uncomfortable. And now I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. Something really inappropriate. Oh, it's bad. So, but again, it still beats crying. I've had that feeling of just naked alone on the floor, wishing for the end of everything. And if you can find some form of humor in there, that's what's helped me to get back up.
how appropriate to be talking about funerals and things like that as we're like getting so close to the veil being very thin. And you know, our relationship with things like death and funerals and that kind of stuff is going to naturally come up a lot in the next couple of months between now and October. That's just like what happens all of the time. Like all around us in the northern hemisphere, we're watching things, end cycles and things change. And so it makes it to where we start to reflect on that as well. Um, there are lots of cultures that believe that our loved ones, our ancestors, those that have gone before, gather to help us like usher in this inward turn, right? I absolutely, that is in alignment with my experience as well during this time, is that like bringing up the relationship with death and kind of checking in. What do I believe about death? What do I believe about these like massive transitions in experience like that? And I have a super dark sense of humor, and have a lot of experience with processing, you know, multiple siblings transitioning out of this incarnation and people that are very close to me transitioning out. I've been to a lot of funerals, and uh, my family uh, has experienced a lot of death within the family, and we have a like wicked sense of humor about it, to the point that we have open conversations at dinner time about things like wills. And we have a sticky note policy with my mom and my dad, that if they buy something that we like, we call sticky note on it, meaning that when they die, it's ours. And the whole family knows that that ATV mom just bought, when she dies, it's mine. Um, that grandfather clock dad just bought, when he dies, it's mine. Like it's this conversation that is this big like jokey thing. Um, just because we've like again cultivated that relationship with death. Yeah, Maggie, yeah, yes. Like when there were actual physical post-it notes all over my mom's house when we were packing her to move, yeah, Maggie had a lot of fun with that. My sister Maggie has this relationship with post-it notes, but she considers that one of the correct uses for post-it notes. It's not that Maggie doesn't like post-it notes. She doesn't like how people use post-it notes. Um, Sorry, super side quest. That was fun. Um, but this is another one of those things about being very aware of what you're in resistance to. If you are in resistance to topics like death or topics like big transitions like that, because death is, I believe, a transition. It's another transition in life that we experience. And really, the at least American culture doesn't give us any tools for processing death and processing um, grief and things like that. And so we are in this position to create again our own relationship with that and start looking. But it's starting by looking at our resistances to it. What are my beliefs that are in shadow? Uh, because that's what resistance is, right? Is something bringing your attention to a belief that you like have about it. Um, so yeah, I suspect that we're going to be talking about death and big transitions at SASS's in the coming months because of, you know, because we're all fucking witches. And it tickles me how everyone's so like plugged in like that. It's one of the reasons why I love SASS so much, is this right here of the flow of conversation that happens. I love that there's a space that we can go to that isn't that's structured enough for spirit to move freely through all of us and navigating the conversations. Like we are open to talking about whatever our gloriously chaotic neurodivergent minds want us to talk about. Our systems all like working together and all of our like guides. It's like this massive, I don't like using the word army. Um, a massive gathering in the spirit world every time we gather, because for each of us there's so many more on like the spiritual side that is showing up for participation in their own way. Does that make sense? Okay, anyway, go ahead, Petra.
You totally make sense. The word I heard was like gaggle, because also I just love that word. It's so funny. I'm just like, there's like a gaggle of witches and all their guides and ancestors, and everybody's just like, party, let's hang out. We're gonna riff off of each other. I just wanted to share something that happened yesterday that in kind of my own shadow work journey that I feel like is relevant, and I had to check in. I had to deal with my meat suit first. I'm very sore. And then I was like, okay, do I want to share this? Does my body feel safe to do that? Yes. Okay. So context. Yesterday, so a friend of ours they were getting married in Kelowna. We couldn't go. Then Kelowna burned to the ground. So now they're here having their wedding, like figuring it out in a week, whatever. I got a message from one of them on Monday being like, hey, do you actually want to come? And I was like, okay, sure. But I haven't really been social IRL very much, other than like going to do errands or things like that. We're very like COVID conscious. We got it once and I had some like kind of stuff happen afterwards, and just with everything I'm like, I can't add any more things to the list of physical ailments and trauma stuff and body symptoms and what. I'm like, I'm full. I'm good on that list. So we've been masking everywhere and being really careful and things like that, which has made it really hard. And also just trauma stuff makes it hard. And being a different person than I was before the pandemic, when I used to hang out with all these people, makes it really hard. Like, I'm not the same person. And I think it's like one of those things when you're healing, you're like, and you haven't seen someone for a while, like they have a snapshot of you frozen in time that like doesn't jive with who you are now. And that there can just be tension in that and like weirdness. And so I had a lot of like anxiety before we went to the ceremony, just lots of like nervous system activation. I had to like do a bunch of stuff to soothe myself because I was just really freaked out. It was also really hot outside and humid, and so like sensory wise it was a lot, and I was just like, this is not feeling very good. And then I was having like, like the last time most of these people saw me in person, I was like 60 pounds lighter. And that's just a weird thing for me. I'm someone who's like really like gung-ho on like body neutrality, like you just live in here, it's not a whatever. But I didn't realize until I had to like go into that scenario like how much I had used kind of Eurocentric beauty standards as a form of armor. And that was kind of one of the things that came out of that, was like I was really, really anxious, and I was like, okay, I need to sit with my system and just like have a moment. Like there's something here that needs to be figured out. Like I feel there's all this intense self-critical talk in my head. I feel very like perfectionisty stuff coming up, and like there's no feasible way for me to lose like 60 pounds in a matter of like 30 minutes. So like we have to come up with a different solution to this issue. And also like that is not a solution to like those feelings. that's not going to change how I feel about my body because there's something else that's going on. And so it's just sitting with that, being kind of in touch with my system and realizing in that communication how much I use like perfectionism as a form of armor. Before it's like if I could be standardly like physically attractive, if I could like wear makeup and do things and wear pretty clothes and whatever, then like I could it was armor. Like it made me feel like I was safe enough to let myself be myself in certain ways because I would be received well at least. And then I had to work and sit with that part of like, is this really accurate? Right? Like, do I need to look and dress and present myself in a certain way to be received as myself? Do like how much like I always like when those things happen, I'm like, how much of this is true? Because some of it might be true, like our society is very judgmental. And these things, but when people already care about you or you've already formed relationships with them, like I feel like that stuff falls away. And I always kind of bring it back to like, do I care how people's bodies look? No, like I care about how people treat me and who they are. And so it was just this interesting moment of realizing that, and I wanted to share it because it was also a big win for me of like going and being out with people and being, I don't want to say like my new self, but like being more myself, like kind of closer to the self that all of you would see. And I'm sure no one else really noticed. Like, we kind of went to the reception and went to the wedding and then we didn't go to the reception. Then we came at very much at the end of the dance. And I got to have some conversations with people. And it just was like really neat. And I wanted to share that here because being around all of you and being in community is something that like helped me get there. And so it was like, this isn't just a shadow work win for me. This is like a shadow work win for all of us in that way. And yeah. And I also I'm like, if I struggle with these things, I'm sure that other people do as well. And I'm sure that there's somebody that can relate to something that I've said. So anyway, thanks, friends. I'm open to like people sharing what they want to share about this or whatever. I don't really think I have any like no's. Like I other than like, I don't think anyone would do this here, but like commenting or correcting my own interpretation of my internal experience. That's the only thing that I'm like, that's a no-go. But I'm like, we don't really do that here. So it's like, we'll be like, have you thought about it this way? Because like, that's how maybe I would see it. Like that's, other than that, I'm like, I don't think that there's anything, but yeah. Okay. Thanks all.
Oh my Lanta, Petra, like I was like partially like little bit tempted to bring this up at the beginning of SASS as well because this is something that I know at the resource center we just came out of the zenith moon, which is all about looking at your relationship with confidence and with like taking up space and like saying the things that you're good at or whatever, right? It's about like being able to walk with your crown on. And every year that we do this, it goes a little bit deeper. And for me, that really, really hit home as well. And it's more of like what I was talking about with looking at fashion again, because I realized that I was not presenting authentically. I the sweatpants goblin life is the life for me. I love it so much. I really, really do, but it does not reflect like who I am. It doesn't communicate anything about me. And I like to communicate things about myself through clothing. And by not doing that, it was not showing up authentically. And I didn't really look at it that way until I was getting this like poke to start being more social locally and to be cultivating relationships locally. So I have gone out and socialized um, more in this summer than I have in like the whole time I've been up in Alaska. And going to these like little local witch gatherings where nobody knows who I am, and having think about like how am I supposed to present in this, and then realizing that I'm asking myself how I'm supposed to present myself in like social situations, and I'm like, well, duh, I'm supposed to like be me unapologetically and just like do the thing. And so I've been practicing that. I struggle with it because I don't want to be that guy that like uh takes over and dominates all of the spaces and always is the one talking and blah 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 blah. um, but then realizing uh, that I don't have control over other people's perception of me or how I present, and the best thing for me to do is just to be as authentic as I can in the moment and hope for the best, right? And that's what I'm trying. I'm trying to just like be as authentic as I can in any social situation as me as possible, because I too over the last 3 years have like this whole thing that we're doing has absolutely profoundly changed me as well. Who I am, what I think about things, how I experience life in general, and interactions with people, all of that has changed so much that I am, and I deeply know that I am not what anybody sees me as, because all anyone ever sees me through is their own lens. Right. And so it doesn't matter what I do, how I sit, what I say, how I present. That's not going to make a difference, really. And so by being unapologetically as authentic as possible, that's the only thing I really can do. And so that is becoming my practice, but it's hard as shit because there's still that social conditioning of what are they thinking about me? Am I offending anyone? Am I hurting anyone's feelings? Am I blah, 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 blah? All of those things that, though my logical self knows that I don't have control over these things and blah, 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 there's still that social conditioning whispers that I know that those whispers do have effect, and it's good to turn my attention to those and to actually practice that like unapologetic authenticity when in public like spaces and meeting new people, just not holding back. Um and I totally lost where I was going with that, but I love that you brought that up, Petra, because yeah, like I deeply struggling with that right now too. Like who am I supposed to be when I'm around? Like who am I supposed to be in relation to these like other people? And that's nonsense thinking, right? That's confusing, mask wearing bullshit, and I'm over it. Right. Go ahead, Maria.
What it brought up for me is the relationship with people that I've known for a while. And Corey what had mentioned about like, you know, going through the pandemic, and also I've been in the foundations program for 2 years. And so like my response to things has completely changed. And I have a group of friends that have known me, some since junior high, some since high school. And we haven't spent a lot of physical time together over these last couple of years. And also, like, people have children and partners and, the pandemic and all that. But what I notice is when we're in a conversation and I like can feel that they're anticipating like judgment from me, and I'm like, oh fuck, sorry, like because maybe I would have like reacted in a certain way, before. And I'm like very just much aware that they just haven't they know what I'm doing. And like I've also explained, I've just said that I've been doing like this shadow work, intensely for the last 2 years and things like that. But I haven't got to spend a lot of time with them. And so it's interesting. It bothered me. It doesn't bother me so much right now because I just feel like, okay, like I'm just gonna show up, authentically and just reintroduce myself in a way that's not like I don't feel I need to like, make any formal announcement, but just kind of show up, just as who I am with like everything that I've learned. And I am more like gentler, like they're like my sisters. And so we've been through a lot, and we're all friends that have had a lot of trauma in our lives through childhood. Probably one of the reasons why we're all friends, like why we all connected, but it's just interesting. And the way that like we used to talk about things, definitely use a lot of humor, for sure, a lot of sarcasm, and still do that. Yeah, I still do that. But like in the way that I would like hold space for y'all, like not maybe giving my opinion and just kind of holding space, like that's very different for them, me like not maybe giving an opinion on a certain matter. So it's very interesting. And because of the pandemic, like, yeah, like we haven't been out and about in the world with people, and we're really just starting to. So it's super interesting. um and there's just like with this one bit, like with my friends, that I'm hopefully we'll get to spend some more physical time, with them. So um I guess maybe like what's coming up now is like I feel it's important for me to just like, I don't know, I think like yeah, just not as opinionated, and just wanting to know, yeah, wanting them to kind of just wanting them to see me who I am now. And I hope that I know that that will happen. But I'm not also, before I was more like, I think it was bothering me a bit. I was feeling maybe a bit bad about how I might have responded to things in the past, and maybe how that wasn't as compassionate as maybe as I wanted to be. But I feel like I've worked through some of that, and now I'm just kind of like ready to interact with people as situations like arise. I'm like looking forward to interacting with people because I feel like I'm just so, like I'm just ready for it. So even though we're turning inward, I'm still, I just, because maybe it's coming up on my 2 years, that I feel like I am really ready for people. Yeah. See, Stephanie, are you next? Or Jen Marie, you are next.
I'm going to try to be so quick about this, but my kid actually called me out the other day about some of this, right? So my sister, my older sister came up and has been here for a week. She used to live here. She moved away anyway. And my younger sister, they came over last weekend for a few hours. And I say it all the time, I'm the quiet one in the family, right? My family members, all of my siblings were very type A, very outgoing, very charismatic people. They're always vying for the spotlight, always like trying to uh, talk louder and get their point across or whatever. And I've always kind of like sat back, right? And they came over, and that dynamic happened, right? They just were like this endless monologue of their opinions and perspectives. And because they don't actually like ask questions and engage, I just don't, right? And I don't call them on it. Right. I don't like engage in any way. And so my kid called me out on that. It's like, you seem very different when your sisters are here than in any other time anyone else is around. And I was like, oh shit, yeah, totally. I wonder if I'm still wearing a mask. Turns out I totally was, out of trauma from childhood. And now I realize I need to have a conversation with my sisters about childhood trauma regarding social, speaking up around them. and how they used to shut me down and mock me publicly. And I just stopped talking and engaging. And that still carries to this day. And instead of actually, my sisters don't know me very well. Maggie kind of does because she is so involved at the resource center, but they don't actually like know me because I don't let them in because of this like childhood trauma. And apparently someone's at my front door. But yeah, way to call me out. And now I'm taking this as confirmation that I need to have that very difficult conversation with my sisters. Yay, family trauma healing. Love you guys. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you, Petra, for bringing that up, because this is something I've been struggling with for years, but until you framed it as like different versions of myself, I wasn't looking at it that way, because as of July, I am 5 years sober, right? So there's like a huge thank you. I mean, a completely different person in that respect. And I've been working with this group since last November, which has just, I mean, just changed me so much already. That I'm just trying to figure out who I am still right now, sober and witchy and spiritual and growing and healing. And so it always feels, I hid for like the longest time, right? I didn't do a lot, and COVID was a blessing in that way. But it always feels to me now, I've got a lot of people calling me from like 20 years ago that want to like meet up. And I'm like, well, this is going to be interesting, because the person showing up now is not even remotely the person that was there. It's kind of like walking into, like, when I was the new kid in my junior year of high school, walking into the cafeteria for the first time, right? That's how it feels. And it just meant a lot to me that you brought it up in that way, because it makes me just, feel not alone in that. And I appreciate it. Thanks.
Ezra.
I'll be quick about this too, since I know we're running out of time. But
That's
yeah,
okay.
I definitely get that, and it's very interesting. Like, I feel like because we're all so multifaceted, like you're always gonna have to deal with the fact that some people only gonna see one side of us, and like I think one of the things I was being called to say is that because I'm like gender fluid, and I kind of see gender as just is genre, like it literally comes from the same word. It's like a way of being. It's like, and so I feel like I'm changeable, like, and the way that I show up is different, and in relation to who I'm around. So for me, figuring out what is a mask and what is authentically changing is has been a big part of my journey. Is still something that I'm thinking about as well, because I think we're also like the seasons, like bring it back around to weather, that we are changeable, and sometimes that can be a surprise to us as well. So that's
Thank you, Ezra.
The meeting booted me out like right after I
Did she freeze for you too? Oh, you're
Booted her
frozen,
right
Jen.
out again.
Yep.
yeah, I
He's
know,
frozen.
right?
Oh, there you are.
Am
Okay,
I
your
still?
face. There you are. You're back. You're back.
Did I have a good freeze face?
You did. It's always up. It's always a good one.
Um, yeah, so that was fun. I'm having these moments of, did I foresee that? Or did I make that happen? Kind of like all of the above thing with that kind of thing of like, I'm gonna hurry up for no reason, turn it over, and boom, get booted out of the meeting. And my connection's going weird. But thank you guys for showing up, for another wonderful SASS. Thank you for trusting your guides and your system in sharing information. And thank you for all of the glorious awkward silences. They're my favorite. As we all like lean in. Am I frozen again? No? Okay.
No,
As we
Karen
all
has an
learn to lean
announcement. Yes.
And Karen is opening up the opening up the cafe? Karen's going to be opening up the Witchy Way Cafe in the Teams environment after SASS if we want to carry on this conversation. For those that are members of the Foundations program, you can do that. Have a wonderful week, you guys. I'm looking forward to chatting with you next week and seeing where we are with this whole turning inward process. May your practice be expansive and filled with many blessings, bright and dark. Bye, guys. And happy birthday, Ben.